This is the second of a series that I'm doing on the elements by request. So the first one that I did was earth, and this one will be on water. Close your eyes. And just check in with how you're sitting. And I'm going to invite you a lot continuously through this class to move, to allow yourself to move in a way that may not feel orthodox to your yoga practice. So even as you're sitting here with your eyes closed, can you sway a little bit forward and back? Sway a little bit side to side, allowing your reference or your idea of your spine to be that it is more like a snake. It's better if you walk forward and then cross the camera. It's okay. So that, and it's okay if you kind of open your eyes. It's not like because I said close your eyes, you can't look. It's not a surprise party. It's just you're closing your eyes to tune in. So you start to feel the fluids in your body: blood, mucus, plasma, lymph, the cerebral spinal fluid, interstitial fluid, synovial fluid. There's all these fluids in our body. It's 80% water, your body. 80% water. In fact, the health of the cells in your body are about their integrity and their permeability, both, which is absolutely the microcosm for the macrocosm of everything. It wants to be both integral and permeable, not rigid, not stiff, but buoyant and fluid. Hi, thank you for coming. So as you come into some sort of stillness posture, just tuning into the breath, imagining that it's streaming into you like a river of energy. Feeling how, as your body expands and contracts, even your lungs are filled with blood. There is nothing in your body that is not fluid-filled and buoyant and receptive and mobile. In fact, even evolutionary theories say that we are water creatures that came to land. For definitely a few billion years, we were in the water first. Please bring your hands together at your heart. And just feeling in the mind screen of your being, what does the element of water evoke for you? What is water? What does water create in your being? Let's sing together the sound Om one time. Deep breath. Please bow your head to this amazing container for the fluidity and the receptivity of our being. Release your hands and lift your chin and open your eyes. And please just come onto your hands and your knees. So one of the things that might be obvious, I'm going to be moving like this a lot, and it's not to make you think anything except that I want you to do it. I want us to think today. I'm constantly inviting people to unknow. And many of us are trained, we're highly trained, or we think we're trained, or maybe we know that we don't know, which is a much cooler place to be. You know that you don't know. One of the things that I'm investigating in my yoga practice is that I have had the tendency to create rigid postures that don't allow for the mobility of every joint. The synovial fluid in your joints is switched on by movement, not by rigidity. So what we're doing now is you're lubricating your hip joints, your knee joints, your shoulder joints, all of that. And even in the next, allow yourself just to, even if it helps you to close your eyes, sometimes like if I close my eyes, I disappear to the rest of the world. Like I think, because like a 2-year-old, if my eyes are closed, you can't see me. And that gives me maybe permission to be more exploratory, which is what I wish you to give yourself permission to do this class. Just be exploratory. Unknow and be exploratory. Be receptive. Be accommodating. Be watery. Curl your toes. Lift your knees and push yourself up and back to downward dog. And then I want you to take your right leg up and then crisscross your body. So if you're not sure what I mean, I call this like the S shape. Just exploring it. I think of myself more and more, and I hope this won't mean that you don't take me seriously, although you probably shouldn't take me seriously. I think of myself more and more like an octopus. And I think of the way that I move more and more like an octopus, because we do have this amazing kind of diaphragm in the middle, and then we have these tentacles. Maybe we don't have as many as an octopus, but we kind of do, if you include your head and your tail. Okay, take your right leg down and then play that action with your left leg. And just knowing that the organs in your body, the health of your organs, is determined by their ability to move and lubricate and slide and slip around each other. The blood of your body wishes not to be obstructed. In fact, many healthcare workers that I speak with, I have a whole consortium of people that I talk to and ask questions about, they say that stagnant energy, just like a stagnant pond, is the mark of disease. So anything that is stagnated is not comfortable. It's in dis-ease. You can take your left leg down. Let's bend both knees. And as you bend both knees, just let yourself swivel your hips right to left. And what I wish you to tap into is the feeling sense of your femur bone inside of the hip socket. So as you're rocking your hips right to left, creating the wateriness in the bowl of the pelvis, which is it literally is like a cauldron, or I think like in Bali, where I've been living for 2 years, they have these huge stone water pots that were the wells of the village. So I think of the bowl of my pelvis like that, this container for the watery contents of the inner being. And then in the next moment, you can move your thighs back and apart, and then let the tailbone lengthen in. But if you visualize the tailbone like the bottom tip of a snake, and your neck and your head, as the top of that snake, let it lengthen towards the earth. Inhale, look up to your hands, bend your knees, step or jump. Inhale, look forward, and exhale, fold. And then do that same action here. So with your fingertips on the floor, just swivel your hips side to side. Swivel your hips side to side. So no joint in your body likes to be locked. And in fact, I'm visualizing in my joint, there's like a magnetism repulsion that happens. Like a joint is like a synapse, and it was created in you, any joint, in about your, well, early in your embryonic life, and about your, I want to say your 4th week, but I might be getting that wrong. No, later. But your legs and your arms were units, like tentacles first, and then they separated and made joints. So each of the joint is a synaptic leap. Okay, bring your hands. Actually, inhale, stretch your arms all the way up. Exhale, hands to your heart. So we're going to move through a sun salutation, but I want you to allow yourself to move like water. Move like water. Don't move like your idea of how you should move. Exhale and fold forward. So we're teasing out the elements with the idea that we'll bring them all together. Inhale, look forward. And exhale, step back to plank. Stay in plank for a moment. So in plank, can you roll? Like if you roll on your feet and you roll on your wrists and you roll. So yeah, there's bones, but can you feel moving in the bones or around the bones? Even the bones are what are creating your red blood cells. So there's even, what's inside of the bones is marrow, which is liquid. So your bones are liquid. Downward dog. I didn't feel like doing Chaturanga just then. Inhale, look up to your hands. Exhale, step or float. Inhale. Allow yourself to be mobile whenever you need to. Exhale and fold. Inhale, stretch all the way up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Good. Inhale, reach. So as you scan your body, exhale, fold. Where are you creating blockage or rigidity? Inhale. Like, I'll just tell you what I see. Step to plank or jump to Chaturanga. I see neck and head rigidity. Inhale. So stay here. I said sun salutations, but that might take a long time. Let's do this. And sometimes what I see, because I've been inviting people to explore the snake-like or octopus-like or jellyfish-like possibility of movement, that people just kind of comply like, and that's boring for you and me, for everybody. And then when you find the center, then see if you can, so this, can it extend up? Like the tongue I even use as a cue to push and lift the upper palate up and out. Downward dog. So that there is a snake body. It's no accident that we talk about the rising energy as moving snake-like. Your spine and the cerebral spinal fluid and the energy that moves up and down your spine moves snake-like. Otherwise, they would have called it something else. Dog-like. They didn't call it that. The dog-like energy of awakening. They did it. They knew about dogs. You have down dog. Inhale, look up to your hands, lift your heels, bend your knees, step or jump. Okay, jump back to downward dog. So I want you to jump forward and back, I'm going to say 5 times, and just see if you channel the element of water, how can you jump forward and back? Like water. You don't think about water doesn't jump. That's not a useful thought. So allow for there to be movement. Even if you were told to be rigid or strong. Right? Can there be a like a mobility to it or a permissiveness to it? How would you move? How would you jump if you were jumping underwater? That's it. And then end up, last one, jump forward. And then this time just inhale and roll up. Roll up to standing. What? Just do it. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale, fold forward. You realize I will totally lose count of how many sun salutations. Inhale. How would you jump watery to Chaturanga? Snake forward. Cobra. Good. Exhale, downward dog. Move in your down dog. When I was practicing earlier this morning and I'd had a day off of practice, my body felt kind of crunchy. And I found like if I just locked myself into down dog, it didn't feel so good in my body. Like if I just got up and I went straight into down dog, like my body wanted some movement. It wanted some water. It wanted some permission to explore its mobility. In fact, when you're moving and following the cues of your body, you're unwinding fascia. You're unwinding the fascial lines. Come onto the tops of your feet. And then roll into up dog. And then roll back to down dog. Come in the top. Do that 3 times. Roll in. And back to down dog. Roll in. Down dog. Do it one more time. Doesn't it feel good? Good. See how I didn't wait for your answer? That's just smart strategy. Inhale, look up to your hands. Bend your knees, step or jump forward, Uttanasana. Don't judge it. Look forward. Exhale, fold. Use these for your hands. Inhale, stretch your arms all the way up. Hands to your heart. Okay, 2 more on your own. I love to think about that water finds the path of least resistance down every mountain. When you look at the flowing element of water, or you look at the movement of waves, pretty much more than any other thing in nature that I've talked to people about, that is the thing. People who are non-yogis will say, they go and they stare at the ocean and they know about the universe, or they know about God, or they know about being from staring at the ocean. One of my favorite things to do is to go to Santa Monica and not just watch the ocean, but watch mostly people from other countries watching the sunset over the ocean, because Americans don't do that. Why are you laughing? So you're not from here, huh? You're like, ha ha, it's true. Americans don't do that because they're working until 8, which is after sunset. Good. Come into downward dog, and please take your right foot forward, pigeon prep. But guess what you're going to do? Just rocking forward and back. So you can report back to me, in my body, it feels better if what I'm literally doing is I'm rolling the femur bone inside of the hip socket, and so it's finding a place where it feels good. And also, just that movement is helping the casing around the bone release the synovial fluid, the membrane around the bone release the synovial fluid. Synovial fluid is what lubricates the joints, literally. So that's the strategy. And then you can take the thighs back and apart, so opening up the container for the contents, and then fold forward. But even here, I give you permission to move. I give you permission to move. You can hold, you can freeze frame yourself, you can be statue pose later. Just to see what you discover. They say that this bowl of the pelvis is the seat of the second chakra. And chakra is just a vortex of energy, and the second chakra is related to creativity, sexuality. It's called the Svadhisthana, which means the I place. So this is where we differentiate male and female, and also that place of from unity to the beginning of diversity. Keep breathing the breath in through the nose. It moves like a waterfall, your breath, into the contents of the lungs, and then as you exhale, it streams and moves out. And even think in your mind, when you fixate on something, there's not that fluidity, that receptivity, that Tai Chi-esque ebb and flow of being. It wants to be integral and permeable. It has integrity and permeability. Your breath, your lungs, your movement, all. Okay, place your hands to the floor. Push back, downward dog. And as you do, you're going to stretch and snake and move. Snake and move. Right leg down, left foot forward, pigeon. And let yourself move around. So finding where, like, can you feel, I can feel, I'll just share my experience because I'm the one talking. I can feel in my left side, like there's a place where it gets a little bit sticky. So I need to, for me, if I spend a little bit more time there, it's like I'm using my own bones to massage the interface of the muscles. And then, like, I can feel when it's releasing a little bit and then fold in. I mean, you can choose to do the other thing. You can just, like, hit it and go and fold in and suffer. That's another strategy. I don't relate that one with water so much. What about you guys? What are things that you associate with water? Swimming? Purification. That's a beautiful thing. I just came from India, and Abhisheka is the cleansing of the statues that they do many, many times a day. Sometimes with ghee, with honey, with, what else, Scott? Milk.
It's in Rishikesh?
In everywhere, but I wasn't in Rishikesh. I was in southern India, in Chidambaram and Trichandur and Madurai, but they do it everywhere. Showering is another form of purification, one that some people should learn about. Taking a bath in the Ganges. I wouldn't do that, but people used to do that. Okay, push back, downward dog, and then stretch your left leg up and snake it. So just swimming in purification. That's the only thing you guys think about with water? Yancy?
Birth.
Birth. Interesting. Left leg down. It's true, the water broke. Baptism. Roll into the tops of your feet. Roll into up dog. Roll back to downward dog. Right foot forward, left foot flat, warrior two. But do this, walk your hands over to the, what is that? Your left, thank you. Bend both knees. So just create strength in your shins. Bend both knees. And then spiral your thighs back and apart. So you're kind of action heroing your way into the pose. I don't know if that can be a verb, but no, it is. All right, so can you do that again? Bend the knees, and then feel how when you bend the knees and you create that boundary for the container, you can spiral your thighs back and apart, and it should feel good. Now, could it feel that good as you come up into warrior two? For me, when I come back here, I kind of need to bend again. So we were just creating the idea of that. Bend both knees, swivel the hips, and then see if you can get them back in place, and then sink deeper into. So you don't just boom, and then you're stuck. Just as an exploration. Soften the fingers so that the fluid can go out. Nice, Veronica. Beautiful, beautiful, Stella. And imagine that your jaw could just flow down like two streams of water. That's good. Exhale, sweep your hands to the floor. Step your right foot back, downward dog. Left foot forward. Bend both knees. And then just create that permission. And then as you keep the container of the lower legs, let yourself spiral the thighs back and apart. So that spiraling action, like two whirlpools of energy going out and away. And then come into nice thessaly. Tail lengthens down. But all of this, the pelvis, if you really think of it like a bowl, in Kund, like in Kundalini, it means pond. Right? So the Kund of the pelvis. Not this trip to India, but in another trip to India, this Baba in the ashram, in a Gaur ashram in Varanasi, he said, when you can experience the inner kund, the inner pond, then you know you've had real stillness. Especially in Varanasi, which is burning ghats, bodies being delivered into Ganges to go to Shiva. There's everything. There's lots and lots of poop everywhere, of all kinds. Cow and human. It's an easy place to feel distracted, but do find this stillness of the inner pond, the inner water. Exhale, hands to the floor. Step your left foot back, downward dog. Stretch your left leg up to the sky. Bend the knee, and then pull the knee upwards towards your nose and lightly place the foot between your hands. Same thing here, just as you did in Warrior Two. Bend both knees, spiral the thighs back and apart. So you think that often we'll say, spiral is like this opening and this expansion into the back. But if you don't feel the wateriness of the femur bones rotating in the hip socket, to me it's not doing like the magic that it can do. Now tailbone lengthens down. Inhale, stretch both arms up, crescent. Now let the kidneys, these fluid-filled sacs moving towards the back, let them be buoyant in the back. So don't think of shoving your ribs forward, crushing kidneys, but can you get buoyance, like liquid-filled buoyancy in the back of the kidneys? Upper palate lifts up, extend. Exhale, hands to the floor. Step your left foot back, plank. Chaturanga. This is the water move. Inhale, it's like a wave form as you curl forward, or like dolphins playing, even though dolphins aren't really this shape. Exhale, downward dog. Lift your right leg straight up behind you, and then bending the knee. Just see if you can, like, it's path of least resistance, pulling knee in and then lightly placing it. And then even here, bend both knees. So you're kind of letting yourself feel this energy of water. Bending the knees, thighs spiral back, lengthen tail, and then inhale, stretch your arms up. One of the best things I learned in the last 2 years was that this is exactly the same as being in water. It's just a lighter density. So I think of this atmosphere of air, and when I'm practicing, I literally imagine that I'm surrounded by water. You know, water's inside, water's outside, like a octopus. I won't say they call me Octopussy, but it's been taken by the James Bond family. Exhale, hands to the floor. I don't know, pretend that didn't come out of my mouth. Downward dog. Inhale, look up to your hands, lift your heels, bending knees, step or jump forward. Inhale, look forward. Good. Exhale, fold. Take your feet a little bit wider. And then just bend your knees again. Take your feet the width of your mat, and then please bring your right arm underneath your right leg. Now if you're tighter in your arms, right arm underneath your right leg. Left arm's going to go around your back. If you're tighter, take your feet wider. If you're tighter, then you can use a shirt or a strap. I might grab someone's shirt and give it to you if I see. I don't have straps. Okay, don't go in yet. Don't get rigid yet. That's prematurely rigid. This has all this stuff, but not, no, it has to go through. There you go. Okay, don't get your right arm caught up in your crotch. That's not a good strategy. Okay, so bending the shins, spiral your thighs back and apart. Do it a few times. Don't decide that the first time, that's it, you're done. But like bending, it's like you're bouncing and then expanding. And bend again. You kind of have to move like a jellyfish. Now shift over onto your left foot. And then when you flex your right foot, it's like you're in water. It's water ballet. So you can come up to standing. And then only if your body says yes, then extend right leg. It's water. Water supporting you everywhere. Up to the crown of your head. Yeah. I didn't say come down, I just fell. Okay, good. And come on down. Unleash your hands. Hold on to the backs of your ankles. Fold in deep. I'm going to grab some of you some straps. Towel, strap, shirt. Good. Tony. Don't give yourself a wedgie. Okay, bend both knees. That is for you. Okay, take your left arm underneath your left leg. And what your body's doing is it's rehearsing a little bit to be accommodating. Tony, you gotta go other way, man. Left arm underneath your left leg, and then your right arm wraps around your back. It's a puzzle. So the bending of the knees is creating the, that was right. This one goes underneath. There you go. There you go. Okay, now as you spiral your thighs back and apart, stand on your right leg. Just come onto the toes of your left foot for a moment. So you establish the weight, the buoyancy of your right leg, and then inhale, come up. Now if you feel yourself get rigid in your mind space, stop, breathe. It's like, what did you say? It's swimming. You're just swimming. That's so much better. Top of the head lifts up. You're supported by the atmosphere of air. You're supported by it. Super, super good. Bend your left knee, come all the way down. Take your hands, the outsides of your shins. Just shift a little bit, side to side. Even feel the mobility in your feet. As the feet, just imagine there's fluid in all of the digits. There's blood, there's space. Interlace your hands behind your back. Just for a moment, letting the blood and the fluid fill the tops of the lungs. And then stretching. As you spiral the thighs back, you can stretch the hands forward. Without locking your elbows. Without locking your knees. Good. Shoulders on your back. Inhale. Rise all the way up to standing. Step up to the top of your mat, releasing your hands. Inhale. Stretch your arms up. Just incorporate it. Exhale. Fold forward. And we have this expression to go with the flow. I like to say it like it's not my native language. To go with the flow. Inhale. Look forward. What does it mean? I'll ask you when you're not jumping to Chaturanga. Step or jump? Inhale. So if that was, stay here. So if if you had a water spout moving from the core of your pelvis upwards towards your head, and it was balancing the ball of your head on top of the water spout, the back of your neck has to be long in order to balance the ball of your head. Excellent. Downward dog. That was so much better, the adjustment you guys made. That was beauteous. So do this. Take your right leg, take it all the way out 90 degrees to the right. And stay on the ball of your left foot just for a moment to create a boundary. Okay, come onto the top of that foot. And then stretch your left arm forward and turn your head to the right. Some of you got twisted. What? You can stay on the ball on your left foot if you like. Just what feels good for you. I'm interested in that. What feels good for you. Now see if you can twist your upper body. Like the organs are these fluid-filled sacs. So can you squish the organs over to the right? Squish doesn't sound very sexy, but you know, pretend. Pretend that's sexy. And then can you gracefully walk your hands back to the front of your mat and just push yourself back to downward dog. And then the second side, take your left leg 90 degrees out to the left. Decide if it feels better for you to be on the ball of your foot or the top of your foot. And then reaching your right arm forward. You can stretch your left arm out to the left, or if it helps you, well, either way, see, does it, like Yancey's using his hand to squish his organs over to the left. That might feel better. Nice, April. Keep working to twist. So use on the right side, use your liver. That's a big guy. The liver is like, in Chinese medicine, they call it the governor. So the liver, which is purifying your body a lot, but also it's a big, squishy organ that you can move over to the left. And then walk your hands back to the center of your mat. Gracefully push yourself back to downward dog, and then you can reach your left leg up to the sky. Good. And then bring your left leg. Nice, Stella. Left leg down. Roll over right hand, outside edge of your right foot. Vashisthasana, sidearm balance. That's awesome, Tony, but do the other right hand. If you find yourself facing everybody in a yoga class, that usually means you're not going the right direction or you're the teacher. Okay, now step your left foot behind you and then curl up and back like a wave. You have to have energy pouring down through your legs, but also pouring up and out through your head, up and out through your left arm. Awesome. Just because it feels awesome. And then can you, with equal grace, come all the way back to downward dog? You have to lift up into your kidneys in that transition. Nice. You can lift up the leg and come to downward dog. And then move, right? Because your body wants to incorporate that, the fascia of your legs, bend the knees, you can swivel your hips, keep the anchoring of your hands, but just go, wow, something's unwinding, probably. Roll over left hand, outside edge of your left foot. So my tendency in the pose is to get really rigid in my arm, but I have to remember there's this fluidity in the kidneys that wants to move back. It wants to have, like, the reason I keep evoking jellyfish and octopi, is because they move in every direction simultaneously. Right leg back. Careful you don't step on something slippery or sharp. And then as you curl back, pause, and then there'll be this backwash of energy that gives you the next wave to take the next curve, to make the next possibility. Nice, good. And come back, downward dog. You almost made that look intentional, Thessaly, and that would have been sweetness itself. Inhale, look up to your hands, lift your heels, bending knees, step or jump forward, Uttanasana. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, fold. Keep your feet strong. Take your index finger and thumb to the base of your skull and lengthen the head. But as you do that, you can look up here if you're confused. I want you to try to just like find the pivot point where the dens meets the skull. So I literally imagine in my head, there's another bowl, copula, or the bowl of the head. So you have these two reciprocal bowls. In this posture, I imagine that the bowl of the pelvis is pouring liquid into the bowl of the head. Literally, blood is flowing into your head. And not that it shouldn't feel forceful. It should feel like you're creating this, you're expanding the channel of energy. I said, do this. That's it. And then you can push your head into your hands. Inhale, rise all the way up to standing. Good. Please bring your right hand to your hip. Standing on your right foot, hold on to your left big toe, or you can hold on to the outside of the foot, either way. So as we're doing, I'm using the bending of the knees to create stability in the lower leg so that I can get more watery in the pelvis. So now take the thighs back and apart. And it's going to feel unstable for a moment, but you're trying to create the freedom in your standing leg. Then as you lengthen tail, then you extend left leg out to the left and right arm out to the right. You can balance with it if you need to, but what I'm interested in is that you keep clearing the right thigh. Keep clearing the right thigh by spiraling your right thigh bone back, lifting up. So there's a fountain of energy from the kund, from the pond in the bowl of the pelvis, upwards, flowing upwards through the crown of the head. Even sometimes I imagine like I'm a porpoise. It's probably too much. I mean, a whale. Porpoises have spouts too, right? Yeah, out through the top. You guys probably don't want to know all that much about me. Okay, and switch, right leg down. So do this. See how your hips get yuck, don't they? For a minute they get they get locked. And if ever locked, crunch, jam is nothing your body wants. Period. Switch sides, standing on your left foot. It doesn't want lock, crush, jam. Shove. Doesn't want. As you bow forward. Right, so we might look weird for a moment, but dude, if we can't be weird. And then extend. And it doesn't really matter how far that leg extends. That's not important. What is important is, can you keep freedom and fluidity in your pelvis? Can you keep the mobility, the downward flow of the organs of the second chakra? Sexual organs want to move and hang down with gravity. Testes, ovaries, uterus, it all wants to move down. If it moves up, if it gets rigid, no flow. Okay, release your right foot down if you haven't already. Fall forward, Uttanasana. Good. Step back, downward dog. Bend your knees, take a child's pose. I'm getting your number. I know that's why you're here in my class. So just feel how when you come down to your knees, you feel how feel the fluid, the rivers of your body. Like we say the inner nadis, the inner rivers of energy that flow. So everything we're doing is, yes, it's promoting circulation, but it's promoting the amazing flow of energy. Imagine the breath moving like a waterfall in through your body, purifying, nourishing. And even imagine that all of the trillions of cells in your body, which are mostly filled with a plasmic-like material that is liquid. They have integrity, which is the cell wall, but they also are permeable. Just like you moving through this atmosphere of air. Inhale and come up. Now this may not feel like a water pose, but you're going to bring water into the pose. Oh, you came up with a new name for this pose. So please cross your right ankle over your left knee. What's your new name for this pose? Fire ants pose. We're going to call it water log. So lifting your hips up. Try this again. Lift them and swing them back, but then maybe just put down, you can play with this. I put down just the left shin And then I play with a little bit of the mobility in the top. And even before I go deeper in, I just shift a little bit, weight side to side. I'm not doing so much just upper body, but really trying to go for the femur bones moving in the hip socket. For some of you, it may not feel like so much fluidity. If it's really challenging, you can open it up like this. Or if you have knee challenges, you can do half. If you're good, fold forward. And even in this forward bend, where it may feel like you have very little room, I may be talking about millimeters of space, just millimeters. Go into that mobility, whatever it is in your hip sockets. Breathing. I got to go this year for the first time. Well, it was the second time, but the first time was really for like a minute. I got to go scuba diving. And that whole world, the underwater world, is so profound in how it teaches us about movement. Nothing seems to have effort underwater. Nothing seems to have effort underwater. Willfully, collectively, we decided to come to land and to move in this atmosphere and play with gravity. But the idea of moving with that amount of freedom, with that amount of liquidity in this atmosphere, is something that I'm taking with me. That's why I'm an octopus. Or a jellyfish. Like, can we float in the current of life? Can we let our bodies feel that free, even though we're in a somewhat less dense atmosphere? All right, twist, please, to the left. So you bring your right elbow to the bottom of your right foot. If it doesn't go, then you can stay vertical. Hands to the heart, hand to hand, and then practice filling. So these lungs that are filled with fluid, they really are like, I was co-teaching a workshop with a doctor, and I said, what are the consistency of the lungs? Like, if I were to touch the lungs, I want to know what would they be like. And he said, like a sea sponge. So he was speaking my vocabulary. So imagine like a sea sponge, the lungs expand. Like a sea sponge. Sea sponge. Yeah, you can whisper, sea. You can rehearse saying that. And it's like, sea sponge. Inhale, untwist. And just stretch both legs forward. Intermission. I don't know, the first one of you that lets me touch your lungs, like, we'll be best friends. Fold forward. Like a sea sponge. Who whispered that? That was so cute. You? No? Did I imagine it? That's probably true. And then notice that in this pose, what I've noticed is, like, I can go here and I hang out and I'm not really participating, or I can keep playing with like a moray eel, kind of just undulating and hugging in and then allowing myself to lengthen and go deeper. And undulating and allowing myself to go deeper. And in that way, I kind of spill over. I pour over myself. And inhale, please come up. And switch legs. So bring your left ankle on top of your right knee. Inside edge of the foot. I know. And it really does, I think, to situate ourselves in each container that we're creating, right? So that things can flow, that these inner rivers can flow better and more unblocked. It behooves us to just take a moment and see, is it situated in a way that feels good? And then fold. The other strategy is to just like lock yourself in position and suffer and wait. I see people do that a lot. It's like, here, I think this is an old strategy. I call it 80s strategy. I don't know why. Seems to go with like big hair and shoulder pads. Just like the tortured look. The no pain, no gain.
I think
Molly Ringwald made that look a lot. I think more of like that chick, who was the chick from the Rockies? The Russian one. Bridget Nielsen. Or Cruella de Vil. She has nothing to do with the 80s, but she did have that streak in her hair. Everyone was emo in the 80s. In the 90s. Everyone's still emo. What am I talking about? So breathing. So even though we talk about the stillness in the pond, like there's still not, water's really, good water's not really still. Healthy water's not stagnant. So when you find yourself in your body get stagnant, see if you can find the permission to allow some movement, to allow some movement. And you can envision that the organs are sliding over each other, that the cells are healthy and buoyant and sliding around each other, letting toxins out and choosing the good things to come in. I know. There's so many ways of hating this pose. Inhale and come up. Twist. You can come up and then twist. Left elbow to the bottom of your left foot. It's not static. So in every breath, there's a repositioning. Just like, even in a pose like this, you can move like sea kelp, which just has, it's amazing because it's anchored, but it just moves with the, it was so cool, like the second time that I went scuba diving, it was really turbulent under the water. I just love to watch the way the fish and the sea turtles, they just go with it. Like, to me, that's going with the flow. It's like, well, I'm going this way. I guess I'm being blown this way. Inhale, untwist. Stretch both legs forward. I guess I'm going into this pose. Hold forward again. It's really beautiful. A lot of the houses in Bali have the element of water introduced into them. So they have this, like it'll be like a wantilan shape, which is just basically like a roof with columns on all sides exposed to the air. But around the house will be water on all sides. And there's something emotional that it does to your soul to have to cross over a bridge of water to get to your abode. It really, it satiates your inner self. It's so primitive, our response to water. It's like, that's why second chakra, it's like, it's primitive. First chakra, it's earth and gravity. Like, you had no choice. Boom, you came out, donk, you're on the earth. Donk, that's the sound you made when you came out. Okay. Inhale and come up. So please come into Virasana. So inner heels will hug towards your outer hips. This is another one where I have to situate myself. And I'm just looking for poses at this moment where you're playing with the mobility of the femur bones, or lack thereof, but that mobility that you can reclaim. And that's a really good idea. So if you cannot sit down, please put yourself on a blanket or a block. And if it's no problem, just do this. Rake the tops of your knees, and then you can lie back. If you're on a block, don't go back. Just sit up. And then if you're all the way back, you can interlace your hands up over your head. And then again, play with that movement, that mobility of the femur bones swishing in the hip sockets. Nicole, what does water make you think of?
The body is mostly made of water.
That the body's mostly made of water. The earth is, what, Scott, 80% water? Check? Awesome. Surface. And then what about the inside? He doesn't respond. He's like, you don't have time to go into... It's okay, I'll get the Earth for Dummies version later. So 80% water on the surface of the earth. And 80% water inside of your body. Isn't that an interesting correlation? Was that your duh face? Duh. I like that. Can you let your kidneys move back? Move back. So sometimes I'll hear from doctors and practitioners like, when you get stones in your like your organs can become dry. They can even become calcified. Imagine, they can become calcified, like a seabed that has dried out. Your organs can do that. So even just sending the intention in your body to create liquidity, even if you're sitting upright, you can move your body in such a way that you're allowing for the organ space to move, to move. Water's coming in through your nose like a waterfall and out. And keep lengthening from your sitting bones out through the knees. Okay. And you can come back up to the elbows, and then you can come back up to your hands, and then you can crawl your hands forward and push yourself up and back into downward dog. Ooh, I know. Roll over right hand outside edge of your right foot, Vashisthasana. Sidearm balance. This is the right.
Sorry.
No, no, sorry. We established in a previous class, we don't say sorry or oops. Is it oops? Oops. Yeah. Okay, so now bend your left knee, if you can. Bend your left knee, that's the top one. Don't step it behind you. I didn't say that. Hold on to the foot. Bend both knees, take the thighs back, so spiral the thighs back. We did this standing. Scoop tailbone, so liquid in your pelvis, then tail, then see if you can stretch the leg up, but that's a nice variation. If not, then stay in the previous pose. Then you can step back behind you. But I want you to do liquid here, good, and then work to straighten your right leg still. Your left leg, I mean. Good. Step back now, step back now. Chatmakkarasana. Yikes. Up through the head, back through the arm, reach, reach, reach. Good. And then come all the way back like water. Good. And then you can bend the knees, swivel the hips, swivel the hips, swivel the hips. Come onto your knees for just a second. Let me show you what I'm trying to go for here. So you go here. I'm just going for here. And then can I get the thighs back? Even if I bend both knees for a moment. So I get that clearance in the pelvis. And then go. And then up. And then play. And I may have to reposition a few times. And I'm still playing with that idea that I'm like sea kelp, but I can bounce. I don't have to be rigid, that I can move and go. And then if I'm here, sometimes I just try to pretend I have no bones. I mean, the bones are there. It's pretend, right? That implies that it's not true. But that's what I mean, like as an octopus moves, as a jellyfish moves, what if I could move like that? Downward dog. So I'm playing with this bouncy cushiness. That's not really a word, but anyways. Left hand, left foot. Take your time. It's all about the setup. It's all about the setup. Nice. And then bending the right knee. Bend both legs, because as you get that established, the boundary of the shins, then you can take your thighs back. And then as you go, tailbone. Imagine you've got water underneath you. Did you ever do handstands in water? You did. Lift your hips. If you didn't do that, you got to go find a pool. And then at the last moment, like you have no other choice, step back. You can spin your left foot. You can point your left foot towards the back of the room as you curl back. Nice, Scott. Water curls back through your head. Breathing. Nice. You can reach your hand. See if you can touch the floor for a second, just because it's fun. Beautiful, Lisa. And then come all the way back. Downward dog. Nice. And see if you can jump through to seated. Lie on your back. Bend your knees. If you, so I'd like you to do a back bend. If that's going to mean that you can't go to sleep, then just do bridge. Okay, so bending your knees. Push your head. Find your, do this. We've been doing that because it's cute. And it's fun. And it also lets you locate your upper palate. So upper palate's was pushing into the floor. You're not jamming the back of the neck. So imagine through your neck, this is super important. You've got all the cables of your body are in closest proximity in your neck. So you have the spinal cord, you have the esophagus, and you have the trachea. Your breathing system, your digestive system, and your nervous system are all right next to each other in your neck. So it's super important that when you go into any pose that all three of those cables, those channels are open. Yeah? So you can push through the back of the head and lift your hips, that's bridge, or you can place your hands and go up to the top of your head. And then as you go up, lift your heels, and it's the same thing in the hips. Create that mobility in the hips. So lifting the heels, allow yourself to get watery in your hips. Allow that fluidity and that movement in the hips. Then you can, keeping thighs back, lengthen tail. But if you jam, you lost it. And then do this, create that mobility in your shoulders. So as you bend your elbows just a little bit, just like the forearms or the shins. So you can get the arm bones sweetly into the arm sockets and then go up. Good. And then come down. And as you come down, just let your back rest in neutral and let the organs soften back. And if you bring one hand to your heart, you can feel the blood pumping through the 4 chambers of the heart. The heart is a super cool thing. When it was formed as these cardiomyocytes, the cell cluster at about 22 days after your conception, that cell cluster migrates from outside the primitive streak to inside. And the pattern of the cells does this thing called lamniaskating. So it basically moves in like a 3-dimensional infinity symbol, give or take, kind of like infinity. And that pattern of lamniaskating then starts to condense and condense and condense and condense until it creates the 4 chambers of the heart. Amazing. That idea, that shape of infinity is encoded in the pattern that your heart created. Blood and plasma and liquid. You were so much liquid before you had bones, before there were bones. And contained in the womb of liquid for your first 9 months. Take both feet as wide as your mat and let your knees go over to the right. And you can, if you like, you can take your right foot on top of your left knee, but then take your right hand and grab your left wrist and just stretch. But then soften the left side body towards the floor. I've missed you. True. True story. It's not rigid. We're not rigid beings. And inhale and untwist. And take your feet the width of your mat and fold both knees over to the left. Only if it feels good, take your left foot on top of your right knee. And as you do that, you may want to point your right foot more so that you're not creating a compromising angle for your knee. And see if you can then soften the right side body towards the floor. Like the blood-filled organs, the right side move towards earth. Inhale, please, and untwist. And bring the soles of your feet together in Supta Baddha Konasana, bringing your hands onto your lower belly. And close your eyes. understanding in the last year is that we really want all the organs of our body want to flow down. When they're not scared, when they're not contracted, when they're not under stress or duress, the kidneys flow down, the sexual organs flow down, the waters of elimination, they flow down. We have to, there's a permission, an acceptance, a flowing energy that is somehow in that 80% water of our being that tends to get stagnant for some of us, tends to become compromised. So as you feel the expansion and the contraction of your lower belly, which just means that expansion of the lower belly means that your organs are willingly, in the most accommodating way, creating room for the lungs to expand, for the fullest breath in this atmosphere of air. As you're ready, go ahead and stretch your legs out and take Savasana. You can roll your feet in and out a few times. In fact, do, so that these tendrils of the legs, their leg tendrils can just flow out. And even push through the back of your head a little bit so that your chest lifts up once your arms are at the side. So you can feel, then as you put it back down, the lungs and the heart spill out through the rivers of your arms. And as your eyes soften back, your jaw softens. Really let even the fluid in your brain, the cerebral spinal fluid, have its free, unfettered pump, lubricating the whole inside of the brain. And feel how the organs just spill out. It is amazing in the microcosm of this body that we replicate all of the most fundamental element components on this planet. We have the same constitution as our own planet. This body of earth and water and the air, our breath, and fire, electricity, our nervous system, and digestion, and the space, which is most of us, the largest part of us, space. And tuning into these elements is simply another way to remember. The tide of your own consciousness draw you back. You feel yourself distracted in thought. See if you can let just a wave, like a cleansing wave, just wipe the thought stream away. And return to this space of clarity before thought. Deepen your breath. Just invite in that deeper breath like a new wave of energy, a fresh flow. Move your fingers and your toes. Stretch your arms up over your head and your legs. Bending your knees, roll to your right side. And just pause for a moment. Even roll more to the right with your upper body. Just pausing. And using your arms, going with the natural direction and flow towards seated. Just for a moment, just for a few moments, bring your hands to your thighs. Bring your hands to your thighs. Just feeling the reorientation of the inner contents within the container of your body as you come into vertical gravity. Feeling the bowl of the pelvis and the stem of the spine. We say like a lotus flowering upwards towards the top of the head because it has its stem and roots down in the bowl, down in the mud or in the watery contents of the pelvis. Just feeling the fluidity within the boundary of self. And sitting here for a few moments like you're held, anchored to the seafloor, but flowing and rising upwards, letting your body pulse and move and undulate in this atmosphere of air suspended but not rigid. And please now bring your hands to your heart. Just in awe, and appreciation and wonder and gratitude for the miracle of how these elements came together and formed the stunning creation that is us. How did these 5 elements combine and create the myriad of creatures that walk on this planet? Astonishing. Let's close, please, with one Om. Deep breath. Please bow your head to your heart, to yourself, to this awareness. Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.